Hi, and welcome to the second half of the live Raw concert. Um, this is the remaining 8 songs from my latest album, Raw. Solo songs. Last week I recorded 8 for the jukebox, and this week I'm doing the final 8. Um, and this Raw is the reason we're doing it now is because Raw has finally come out on vinyl. So all you vinyl fans out there, you can actually get your copy on nice big shiny vinyl. And So Raw is one of 3. The first album I did came after a conversation I had at a gig when a guy came up to me and said, "Do you have any? I like your albums. I like the musicians you choose and so on, but I'd really like to have something that I just heard there on you on stage on your own." And it occurred to me that many of my gigs are on my own, and that is what I do a lot of the time. But I'd never released an album of just me on my own. So I thought he had a good point. So the impetus, apart from his very good point, was the acquiring of my Martin guitar, my 1944 Martin, which you'll see in a minute. And when I bought that guitar, the way I got it, I found it in America, and through the generosity of friends and supporters, I eventually came to own it. And so, as a thank you to them, and as a tribute to this wise person who suggested a solo album, I decided I would make an album on it, and I would write the album. And I did. I wrote December, and I recorded it. And then I thought, rather than leaving it at just one, I'll make a bit of a celebration of it, and I'll do a trilogy. So I did 3 albums: December, followed by Faraway People, and finally Raw. And thanks to the generosity of Andy Chapman, who's been a big supporter, I now have all of these 3 albums available on vinyl. So a full set, you can buy the whole thing, you can own the whole thing on vinyl or CD or both. So today I'm going to play the 8 of those songs. And I'm going to start with this one. This is a song called Moving On. And it's just a little banjo breakdown, really. I was playing a banjo one night, and I'm a big fan of lots of different types of country. Not all country music, but certainly the early country, the likes of Hank Williams and the Blue Sky Boys, the Louvin Brothers, and the Monroe Brothers. Bill Monroe and all those kind of Stanley Brothers. I love all that kind of country, early country, very simple, beautifully simple music. And it's through that and being in the Panic Brothers that I learned how to play the banjo. And so I just wrote this breaking up song. Thought good theme for a country song, I thought. So this is Moving On the banjo. Something in the way you said good morning, something in the way you said good night, and the hours in between seem less loving and less keen, and I've got a feeling something isn't right. Something different in the way you kiss me. It's like a certain look has left your eyes. Used to be we'd pull together to withstand the stormy weather, but it feels like now it's only me who tries. Moving on, moving on. Seems like it's time for moving on. Seems these days you're less inclined to answer. Seems these days you're less inclined to call. and the words of love you leave are getting harder to believe, and every message reads like writing on the wall. Moving on, moving on, feels like it's time for moving on. Something in the way you talk about me, and the loving words that you no longer use. I have seen the signs before as I sit and watch the door, and I'm staring down the time to break up blues. Moving on, moving on, feels like it's time for moving on. Moving on, moving on, feels like it's time for moving on. This song is called 9 O'Clock Angel, and it's really a reminder to live your life well. I think it's just, you know, we all have chores we have to do, we all have responsibilities, jobs we have to do that we might not particularly like, and so on. But you know, I think it was sparked by the arts and crafts movement that William Morris kind of probably not created, but certainly championed, and was very much a leading light in. And he said that that things ought to be useful and beautiful. So just because something was useful, it didn't have to be industrial. It could be elegant. It could be beautiful too. And so this is just a kind of a reminder to whenever possible to be useful and beautiful, or to live your life usefully and beautifully, and you know, be aware of those things, and make life better for yourself, and of course by doing that you make life better for everybody else too. So all of those things, and so this is 9 O'Clock Angel. She fills up her house with beautiful things, her elegant fingers with rubies and rings. She moves to the music the dream bringer brings. 9 o'clock angels preparing her wings. She moves like a leaf on the breeze in the night, hair like black silk and her milk cotton whites. She talks to the moon and the moon brings her light. 12 o'clock angels preparing her flight. Poet of dreams, the spoken part. Before you know it, the poet has stolen your heart. Child of the flowers, as bright as the day, green as the forest and gold as the hay, bound for the sun where the Icarus play. 5 o'clock angel is flying away. poet of dreams, the spoken part. Before you know it, the poet has stolen your heart. This song is called Broken, and it comes from I can remember where I had the idea, where I originally wrote the notes down. I was in a cafe in Sidmouth, and it was a nice day, and I was just sitting having a cup of tea and a cup of coffee or something, and there were several other people in the cafe, and I noticed particularly two, an older man and an older woman. They weren't together, but they were kind of the age of people who'd seen life, and they both looked like they'd seen life, and and really I just started to kind of make up a story for them, discreetly and privately. But when I was a kid, I'm sure many of you have done this too. I would invent a film for the day. I would be in a film. I'd be James Dean, or I'd be I don't know, Harrison Ford, or John Wayne. I can't remember the actual people, but I remember that I would invent scenarios for myself, and I would go out in the day, and that day I would behave like I was in that film, like I was out on the prairie, or I was in industrial London, or I was in some kind of a fantasy of some sort, and I'd go through the day as that character, as that person, and so this is I've kind of carried this on into my professional life, I suppose. I make up stories. And they're not always. I'm not always in those stories, but sometimes it will appear that I am, because of the craft of writing. But sometimes it will be about other people. Sometimes it will be just completely made up, or just triggered by a notion. And the notion I had on this day was that these two people had kind of quietly noticed each other, and they were both separated, or for some reason they were both lonely in their lives, and looking for, not necessarily looking for, but would be grateful for company, some love and affection, and so I put them into this situation where they kind of noticed each other, and when I left the cafe, perhaps they started to chat. I noticed at some point that they acknowledged each other, that not that they knew each other evidently, but they were aware that the other one was there, and so I kind of just ran with that idea, and I gave them this new life. I brought them together, and in this song, this is a kind of before. This is when everything is kind of broken, but by inventing this world, this imaginary scenario for them, I helped to heal that situation. The power of words, the power of music. There you go. This is called Broken. I walked down to the sea today to hear the water crashing, the silver sun upon the sand, like God's own bright eyes flashing. And in the wind and in the roar, wise words to me were spoken, words that my foolish head can't hear, because my head is broken, because my head because my head is broken. The woman in the cafe smiled, some kind of recognition. A pale ring where a gold band once declared her safe position. Then in her eyes a flash as if an old thought were awoken. And yet my eyes they could not see, because my eyes are broken. Because my eyes are broken. I hear the perfect songs of birds above the engine's clatter, conversations overheard, the words that shout and shatter, and on the breeze the loving words like silent golden tokens slip by my cold and quiet heart, because my heart is broken. Because my heart is broken. Because my head, because my eyes, because my heart is broken. Because my heart is broken. This song I wrote when I was working with a singer-songwriter called Jess Vincent, and we were doing a kind of a country duet thing called Pretty Peggy-O. It didn't last very long, but it was a lovely idea, and it was my kind of Graham Parsons, Emmylou Harris months, where I found a great singer who I could harmonise with, and I've always been a big fan of two-part harmony, and me and Jess, we worked out a set, and we did a couple of gigs, not many. Didn't really take off, and but we did some recordings, and I loved the stuff we did together. And this song, this is an unashamed, unabashed tribute to Hank Williams. It's called "Our Love Has Turned to Hate," and it's just a piece of my task was to try and write a classic piece of country duet, a little country male and female duet, and so I wrote this for me and Jess to do. So are there any duos out there who fancy having a crack at this? It does work very well as a duet. The two-part is just kind of there for you. So Our Love Has Turned to Hate. I watch you walking through the door. You wear the dress you always wore, but now it looks so out of date. Now that our love has turned to hate, the flowers of love that we both grew died the night you were untrue, and I have closed the garden gate. Now that our love has turned to hate, I always thought that you'd be mine, that no one else could change your mind. or change your heart and seal our fate. Now that our love has turned to hate. Last night I held you one last time. I knew that we had crossed the line. Each time feels like it's our last date. Now that our love has turned to hate. And as we fade into the night, I guess our love just burned too bright. We found each other much too late, and now our love has turned to hate. The way of love is never straight, and now our love has turned to hate. This song is called "The Eyes of Ida Lewis," and I was reading. I'd been over to the Farne Islands, and I'd been aware of Grace Darling. Grace Darling was a daughter of a lighthouse keeper and a lighthouse keeper herself, and saved some lives in a boat in a storm. Rowed out and saved the lives of several sailors, and I was reading about Grace, and somehow it led me to Ida Lewis. And Ida was also a lighthouse keeper. But it seems she'd been a lot more successful in the life-saving stakes. And she was out, her lighthouse was in out Rhode Island, above New York Harbour, so sort of on the east coast coming down. And I can't remember the name of the little island, but it'll come to me, no doubt, after I've finished talking to you. But she was a lighthouse keeper for 60 years, and she saved at least 18 lives, and I think possibly 25. And some people suggest that there were lots more that weren't recorded. And she became so famous that in her day, back in the early 20th century, she was known as the most famous woman in America, and dignitaries, presumably sailing into New York, would stop off to visit Ida. And she was invited to all sorts of events and galas, and of course, you know, being a lighthouse woman, she wasn't. She was a shy woman, of course she was, and she liked her own company and didn't like all this attention. But nevertheless, it was bestowed on her for her gallantry, heroism, and bravery. And what struck me about this were those words, "the most famous woman in America," because now nobody seems to have heard of her. And I played this in New York, and I asked the audience there if they'd heard of Ida, and of course nobody had. And you know, so her little light has ceased to be. But so I thought, you know, let's give Ida a bit of a heads up. And so this is a made up story, but based on fact, and it's the story of Ida Lewis. Row, Ida, row. You can help me get this song into the world. We all sing the chorus together. I'll show you. Row, Ida, row, row me to your light. Row, Ida, row, keep me safe tonight. Everyone? Row, Ida, row, row me to your light. Row, Ida, row, keep me safe tonight. she pulled us from the water, my stupid friends and me. She said, I'm far too young to marry, but I keep you in my sight, and I bless the eyes of Ida before I sleep at night. Oh, Ida, row me to your light. Row, Ida, row, keep me safe tonight. As strong as any sailor, as brave as any man, why risk your life for fools, she said, because I can. They traveled miles to save her, and she shyly took her bow. She said, I never made a speech in my sweet short life, and I ain't gonna make one now. Row, Ida, row, row me to your light. Row, Ida, row, keep me safe tonight. All alone in a lighthouse, all a life no union bliss. The only bells that ring for Ida bring a sweet stead soul to rest. Oh, Ida, row, row me to your light. Row, Ida, row, keep me safe tonight. 18 souls she rescued, but she wasn't counting heads. She gained 60 years, so travelers that sleep safe in their beds. When they called her strong, she answered, it's the Lord that makes me rise. They see the lights that watch the harbor, but I see Ida's eyes. Row, Ida, row, row me to your light. Row, Ida, row, keep me safe tonight. Row, Ida, row, row me to your light. Row, Ida, row, keep me safe tonight. This song is it's called From Now On, and it's again it's out of my head. It's I suppose the best thing I can say about this song is I played it live at one of the workshops I was doing, and it went down well, but at the end a woman said, it's a beautiful song, Reg, but I don't believe you. And so you can decide for yourself as you listen to From Now On. This is called From Now On. Well, I'm sorry that I hurt you. Didn't mean to make you cry. Should have known you'd be uncertain. Should have seen that you were shy. Should have waited till tomorrow, but I was scared you would be gone. And that's one thing I'll be changing from now on. Yes, I'm sorry I upset you. you couldn't get to sleep. It was me who made you anxious. It was me who made you weep. I should never have been jealous. To betray your trust was wrong. But that's something I'll be changing from now on. From now on I will be patient. From now on I won't ask why. You will barely recognize me. You will see a different guy. I'll be quiet, I'll be mellow. I'll admit that I am wrong. Gonna see a different fellow from now on. I just wanted reassurance, had to put some things to bed. Questions unresolved and crashing like water in my head. Should have known it's best to leave it, that to push too hard was wrong. Gonna change my ways, believe it from now on. From now on I swear I'll listen. From now on I'll understand. Words can have a different meaning to a woman and a man. Pride won't get the better of me. I'll own up when I am wrong. I will make you proud to love me from now on. I'll get a grip on my emotions, hold my hands up when I'm wrong. I'll be a model of devotion from now on. I'll be as calm as any ocean from now on. There you go. This song is called Shelley's Heart, and it's the story of Shelley's heart. Percy Bysshe Shelley, the poet, as you probably know, died in a boating accident on Lake Como in Switzerland. He was with another man, and they were sailing at night, and the storm capsized the boat, and they were both drowned. And because of quarantine laws, I'm not quite sure how these apply, but this is what I read. Because of quarantine laws, it was difficult to bring his body ashore and to go through the normal process of burial, etc. And so his friends, the poets Trelawney, Lord Byron amongst them, decided they would cremate Shelley on the beach. And so they prepared a funeral pyre, and they set light to his body. And this reminded me of the Graham Parsons story. Graham Parsons, originally a member of the Byrds, similarly he died. He died in a drug-related incident at Joshua Tree Motel in California, and his wish was to be buried at the Joshua Tree, the national park, Indian spiritual burial ground, and to be cremated there. And so this kind of had echoes of that, and so I read more, and I found out that while he was his body was burned, and at some point in the proceedings, what appeared to be Shelley's heart fell from the flames, and one of the poets cried out, "It's still beating! Look, it's still beating!" And it was beating away there on the shore. And so they gathered up the heart, and they gave it to Mary Shelley, Percy's widow, also the author of Frankenstein, quite fittingly. So she took the heart and said, "Thank you, that will do nicely." apparently then wrapped the heart in a poem of Shelley's called Adonis, and then put this into a piece of silk cloth and put that in her desk and kept it there for the rest of her life. And the heart was eventually buried with Shelley's son in Bournemouth churchyard. And so I, at the time, the New York Times, I'm not quite sure why, but they obviously got wind of this story, and they decided to consult some scientists to try and find out what had made this phenomena occur. And the conclusion they came up with was that the organ that Mary kept in her desk for the rest of her life was less likely to be a heart and more likely to be a liver, because of the water saturation of the organ. If it were a heart, it would, once it was consigned to the flames, it would just shrivel and dry out. But if it were a liver, it would contract. Is that right? It would expand. Contract, it gets smaller. Anyway, it would very possibly, with the heat and the water, would possibly have a bit of a beating thing going on. So who knows? But anyway, I thought it was a wonderful story and worthy of a song. So I wrote this song. It's called Shelley's Heart. In the dead of night, the young man's body drifts towards the shore. His shirt lies flat like windless sails, the gales blow no more. Far away in England, Mary prays his soul to keep. His true heart paused to beat its final beat. Peace, peace, the heart that does not sleep. The finest words a man can think or write down on a page, you wrote to voice your sympathy, your passion and your rage. You wrote them for the innocents, the dispossessed, the weak, for those who cannot fight and those who cannot speak. Peace, peace, the heart that does not sleep. Peace, peace, not dead, the heart that does not sleep. Your friends stand on the moonlit beach beside the funeral pyre, where your youthful beauty turns to smoke, your fire turns to fire. They weep, the sad, the mad, the bad, the dangerous to know, till one calls out, see how his heart with flames and moonlight glows. They swear they see the fiery blood run free. Your heart still beats for me. Peace, peace, the heart that does not sleep. Peace, peace, not dead, the heart that does not sleep. Mary takes you in her hand and wraps you in a poem. Your restless heart, the king of words, returns at last to home. And with her love in slumber and the skill of her own pen, the sweetest songs in clouds of fire will rise to meet again. Peace, peace, the heart that does not sleep. Peace, peace, not dead, the heart that does not sleep. Well, thank you all for listening. Thanks for all your feedback and your comments, and thanks for all your support during this strange time. All those Patreon members out there, thank you for your financial support and your encouragement, and thanks to everybody who's donated, and if you haven't donated already, don't be shy. There's Katie will put up a donation link here, and thanks to Katie who's put all of these videos together throughout lockdown, and incredible amount of work she puts in, and not only that, but manages to get me still manages to get me gigs against all the odds, and events, and work of of a kind, and that's all still going on, and hopefully that we'll come through it. We'll come through it fine, and we're staying busy, and Katie is doing a magnificent job, not just with me but with her other acts as well, with Harbottle and Jonas, Charlie Dore, Cider House Rebellion, and whoever else is. So thanks to Katie, thanks for putting this video together, and thanks for all your help. So what you've been listening to has been the final 8 songs of the Raw album, to celebrate it coming out on vinyl, and so this is it. You can now order it. Look at that wonderful photo there by Rachel Snowden. That was taken up in Scotland, and we found this amazing location. You'd pay a lot of money to have that location built, but it was there waiting to be used, and there you go, and nice packaging from Joey, my son, Joey Meuross. And check him out. He's got a site too. He's called Diff Rocker, DIFFROKKA. And if you look on Facebook and Instagram, you'll find him there doing his music, which is very different to mine. Be warned, it isn't quiet, but it's magnificent. And so check out Joey. And thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for everything. Thanks for your support. Hopefully I'll see you all soon at a gig somewhere. In the meantime, stay safe, keep well. Lots of love. Bye bye. Say you're tired of waiting for tomorrow. Say you're tired of waiting for the sun. I'll be here to keep you from the sorrow when tomorrow never comes. The moon comes on the gentle breeze of evening. Soft reflection soothes your worried eyes. Still, but for the sunlight slowly leaving and breathing, she sighs. And I'll hold you, and I'll keep you, I'll be with you all the way. If you'll be my darling, if you'll only stay. Blue is the color of the evening. Blue, the reflection in your eyes. Blue is the color that my heart turns sweetheart flies, I will hold you and I'll keep you, I'll be with you all the way. If you'll be my darling, if you'll only stay, I will hold you and I'll keep you, I'll be with you all the way. If you'll be my darling, if you'll only stay. Walk down to the sea today to hear the water crashing, the silver sun upon the sand, like God's own bright eyes flashing. And in the wind and in the roar, wise words to me were spoken, words of my foolish head can't hear.